The Detroit Pistons come one game shy of breaking their franchise record of 14 games won in a row after losing to the Boston Celtics in a very, very unfortunate fashion.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Khahil. I've been covering the Detroit Pistons for the last 4 years for the Locked On Network, been a credential media member over the last 3 years, and I appreciate all of you guys who make Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Today, before we get into the game, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to all of you guys. I hope you guys have a great time with your family and friends. Enjoy it. Enjoy the day off, all that good stuff. Hope you guys have a really good Thanksgiving. But sadly, the Pistons had to send everybody into Thanksgiving on a bit of a sour note. They fall to the Boston Celtics 117-114. If they won this game, they would have broke their franchise record of 14 wins in a row. They fall one game short in a very heartbreaking fashion. Cade had a chance at the end of this game. He got fouled for 3. To tie the game, he had to make all 3 free throws. He makes the first 2. And then the third one, bounces front rim, hits the back rim, comes back off the front rim, misses. And that's the ball game. That would have sent them to overtime. But Cade missed it. I want to go ahead and look, this was a very heartbreaking loss because, again, you win this game, you break a record, and you continue the streak. You're playing a team that you are better than, should win this game. So it sucks. It definitely does suck that they weren't able to break the record. But I do want to make it clear before we get into anything else, they are still 15-3. This is still a great season. This is still a really good team. I don't need to see. Everyone doesn't need to be freaking out. This is a tough loss, sad loss. Would have loved to break the streak, but it's not the end of the world. They're 15-3. Let's just not go on a losing streak here. Let's correct pattern and is what it is. But it was a sad loss. So Cade had a fantastic game outside of that. 42 points on 26 shots. I was told he couldn't get 40 points on efficient scoring. He did in this game on national TV. Got to the free throw line 16 times. Made 14 of them. One of them was the miss at the end, which was an absolute killer. But outside of that, I thought Cade played an absolutely tremendous game. He didn't get much help this game. He didn't get much help from anybody. Next biggest, highest scorer was Tobias with 12. Duren shot 4 of 10 in this game, had 12. Duncan Robinson, we'll get into him in just a second. Ausar went 2 of 8, missed a lot of bunnies at the rim. We'll talk about something that he and Duren were doing against the Celtics as well. That was very frustrating to see. No one had a good game outside of Cade. I felt like everyone struggled outside of Cade in this game, and he was doing everything offensively to keep him in this game. So you kind of saw the Pistons' lack of offensive punch in this game get exploited. You expect Tobias to be better moving forward. Obviously, there's a lot of weight on Jalen Duren's improvement as a driver, and you kind of saw in this game that when the Celtics did a great job of walling off his drives, and not only walling off his drives, but showing active hands and reaching down at his handle. And one of the things I thought that was shown in this game that was kind of being sprinkled throughout the Pistons winning streak, but it didn't matter because they were winning. He was playing so well. Duren's passing reads off of his drives haven't been the same this year. Now, again, it hasn't mattered because he's been so good as a scorer. So it hasn't, we talked about how great his efficiency's been. But there was quite a few times in this game where Duren would put the ball on the ground, they send 3 people at him, 2 people at him, and he was incapable of making the read. He was turning the ball over. He had 3 turnovers in this game to just 1 assist. So I thought that was exploited a little bit in this game. Hopefully they use this as film, go back and look at this and show Duren, hey, you're doing a great job scoring, but when they do send bodies at you, you have to be able to make a play out of that. You have to be able to make the right read out of that. So, but I thought you saw just how heavily they are reliant upon Jalen Duren being able to score on dribble drives, because that was a big reason why their half-court offense had been good over this streak, and he struggled in this game, and no one else could take up some of that secondary scoring slack. Ivey went 2 of 9, played really poorly in this game, but no one's going to really hold him. It's his 3rd game back. I don't think anyone's really going to hold that against him, I guess. And he shouldn't. I mean, it's his third game back. I'm not going to kill him for it. But they just didn't have anyone else that could really help Cade offensively. And you saw that. They struggled scoring in this game. Turned the ball over a bit too much. Cade had 4 turnovers in this game. They didn't shoot well from deep. So that was one of the main reasons why they ended up losing this game. The other reason is this. This is going to continue to be one of the most frustrating things. And this goes back all the way back to the playoffs. And every time this happens, it's just going to be... It drives me crazy every time, and it's just going to keep driving me crazy. You cannot sit here and preach that this team's identity is defense, and then sub out your defensive players for offensive players so you can try to score more, even though you're not going to score more. The Pistons subbed out Ausar Thompson with around 4.5 minutes left to get Duncan Robinson into the game, when the Pistons couldn't stop any dribble penetration outside of when Ausar was on the floor. They couldn't stop anybody from scoring the basketball. They were relying dribble penetration and kickouts for open threes at all times. And the entirety of this game, especially in the fourth quarter and late in the second half, throughout the entire second half really, the Celtics were just seeking and destroying Duncan Robinson, and they were generating paint touch after paint touch after paint touch after paint touch by going after Duncan Robinson. You can't sit here and tell me and tell everybody for days and weeks that your identity is defense, and then you sub out your best defensive player to put Duncan Robinson in the game when you know that he's being seeked and destroyed. And what ended up happening was they kept him in for 4 possessions. The Pistons scored on 1 of them. The Celtics scored on 3 of them. And each time they targeted Duncan Robinson and got to the paint. The only one that they missed the shot on was when Jalen Brown got to the paint and just missed the layup. And what ended up happening is they realized after 4 possessions, we should probably have our best defender in, and they put Ausar back in now with 2.5 minutes left. So you just wasted 4 possessions for no reason. If you're going to do that, you better score every offensive possession because you're not going to get a stop. And they couldn't get one. And they weren't able to score every possession. It's the same thing. This is the same thing that we complained about in the playoff series last year. And I get it's just one game. I'm not freaking out over one game. They were 15-3. I just said that. I'm not saying that this is time to burn down the house and freak out. I'm just saying it's frustrating to see this happen in any game. When you say that your identity is defense and you are being picked, your bad defenders are being picked on, and you take out your best defenders so you can try to score more instead of just getting stops, which is your best offense anyways. Again. So that was just incredibly frustrating. It was incredibly frustrating. Derek White had shot out of his slump in this game. He had 27 points on 11 threes attempted. He made 6 of them. Boston got up 43 threes. They made 20 of them. I mean, when the team shoots that well from 3, it's going to be hard to win. It is. But I said this during the live playback watch in the first quarter. After the first quarter, I said this. Pistons are lucky to be up by 4, or I believe they were up by 6. They're lucky to be up because the Boston Celtics are just getting to the paint whenever they want. And they're just missing open shots right now. They're getting to the paint whenever they want. Jalen Brown was missing layups. He was 1 of 8 in the first quarter. They're getting to the paint, kicking out, just missing threes. Pistons were not playing good defense. And their bad defenders were being exploited more than they ever have been at any other point in the season. They had so many miscues throughout the game. They gave up multiple wide open layups off of miscues and confusion on switches. They gave up multiple open threes. Multiple guys just weren't having their hands up. I thought the Celtics, again, like I said, they really took advantage of the Pistons' bad defenders. They went right after Duncan Robinson every time he was on the floor. They went right after Jaden Ivey anytime he was on the floor. And then later in the game, when they took Duncan Robinson off the floor, then they started bringing up Jalen Duren in every single action, forcing him to switch out on the perimeter, and then going after him, forcing JB to then sub in Stu for the final 2 minutes of the game, so they couldn't do that anymore. So the Celtics were really just hunting out bad defenders, and this is another thing that was just very frustrating in this game. The Pistons had Ausar on Payne Pritchard, and Payne Pritchard didn't have a good game. He forced an 8-second violation. He did a good job on Payne Pritchard. But at the end of the game, the Celtics were just sending Payne Pritchard to the corner because they knew the Pistons had Ausar and Payne Pritchard, and they were just keeping Ausar out of the action. I don't understand why you don't put your best defender on. First of all, I don't understand why you take him out for Duncan Robinson just to take him out 2 minutes later, because you ended up seeing what we all would have guessed, or we all knew was going to happen. Don't know why we need to waste 4 possessions to find that out. We knew what was going to happen. But then you waste your best defender in the corner just sitting there instead of putting him on the guy that's killing you, and Derek White or Jalen Brown, putting him on one of those guys. Now, I understand they would have ran a bunch of actions. They would have ran a bunch of screens to try to get him switched off of him. But if you at least have him involved in the action, you have him on JB. If they want to send JB to the corner, then you've won. You've won. If they want to send Derek White to the corner, then you've won. But letting them play with their two best players in actions, and while Ausar guards their third best player, and you can say, well, at least he took Payton Pritchard out. It's like, okay, well, what are you winning at that point? Derek White's going crazy. Jaylen Brown's going crazy. Put Ausar in one of those guys. If they run a bunch of screens, so be it. Have Ausar fight over it. Maybe his pressure forces a turnover like it did multiple times throughout this game when they had the ball in their hands. Just make them work harder to get the looks that they wanted. They didn't have to work at all for a 2-minute stretch because Ausar just wasn't on the floor. And then they didn't have to work the rest of the stretch because you just had Ausar hiding on Pritchard in the corner. Like, what's the purpose of having your best player or your best defensive player hiding on Pritchard in the corner? You were just allowing Brown and White to get whatever action. They literally called up every person into a screen that wasn't Payton Pritchard just to keep Ausar away from everybody. And I don't get that. Put Ausar on JB. Put Ausar on Derek White. And if they call up a screen and try to get him switched off of it, have him go over the screen and fight over it. Have them pressure him as they're coming up the court. Have them pressure them as soon as they catch the ball. Maybe he does get switched off, but at least you waste maybe 3 or 4 seconds of the shot clock from him fighting to get switched off. Having him just operating in the corner just makes no sense to me. The Pistons defense, this was one of the worst defensive games they've played all year. And I know the Celtics only scored 117 points. That doesn't matter to me. They made 23s. And I know a lot of the threes were above the break threes as well. And you can say, oh, well, they just had a hot game. I mean, I guess maybe. Me watching the game, I mean, they had 121 offensive rating, bro. 122, actually. This wasn't a good defensive game at all. Yeah, they Derek White hit like 2 contested threes, sure. But a lot of their threes were being generated off of guys not having their hands up and being able to touch the paint and then kicking out because they couldn't stop dribble penetration. Bad defensive game. Very, very bad defensive game. Curious decision by JB. Cade misses a free throw at the end, and then nobody else helps him offensively. It was all a recipe for the Pistons to have their win streak snapped and to go out in this fashion. Now, again, I just talked about everything in this game that made it a tough loss, and it is a tough loss to witness. It's sad. You would have loved to see them break the streak. But I am going to end this segment with this. Again, they are still 15-3. You can talk about this game. You can break down this game. You can say why they lost this game, why it was disappointing, analyze it, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you should still come away saying 15-3. Sucks to lose this game. Wasn't a great game. But they're still in a very great position, and they're going to be fine. Let's just not have this roll over into the future games. But no doubt, this was a sad way to go out, and it was uncharacteristic of everybody, I feel like. Everybody outside of Cade, and really at the end of the game was uncharacteristic by Cade too. This is just a very uncharacteristic game from the Detroit Pistons. So let me know, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Khahil, how you guys feel about this loss. But coming up, I want to talk about where they need to clean up from this loss to avoid this spiraling into a 2-game losing streak or, losing 5 of their next 7, anything like that. What they need to clean up, we'll talk about it coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, a day one sponsor. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And again, new customers with FanDuel will get $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com, sign up, play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free to available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Let's get into where they need to clean up, because there are a few things in this game that really popped that need to change. And I felt like on national TV and against this Boston Celtics defense, I felt like you kind of gotta, because it was a cup game, it kind of felt like a playoff setting. Like, it was very physical defense, and you saw some unorthodox coverages from the Boston Celtics. It really felt like this was like the closest feeling to a playoff game that the Pistons have played yet. And I thought the Celtics did a lot of good things to kind of throw the Pistons off their game. So I want to point some of these things out. I want to start with Ausar and Jalen Duren. We talked earlier about how Jalen Duren needs to be making better decisions off the live dribble when they take away his drives for scoring. He needs to be able to create and pass off of those. But the other thing that JD and Ausar did a ton in this game that they have to stop doing. They have to stop doing this. They have to stop bringing the ball down. Ausar does this a lot, and it frustrates me to high hell. Ausar is one of the most explosive athletes you are going to see in the NBA. Yet every time he catches the ball on the baseline, if it's not oop, or if it's not a high pass, he brings the ball down, and he pump fakes, and then he tries to go up. He was 2 of 8 in this game. A lot of these looks are right at the rim, and a lot of them are from him just pump faking and then getting himself into a tougher shot because he's not keeping the ball high and just jumping and dunking on somebody. Even if you just go up off of it, they're probably going to foul you. One of his free throw attempts, he got to the line 4 times. One of them was off him just going straight up off of it. Even if you do that and you miss, you're probably going to get fouled because no one can jump with you. So stop bringing the ball down, allowing the ball to get knocked away, or putting yourself in tougher positions to finish. So many of his finishes today were made to be so much tougher because he's bringing the ball down. So stop bringing the ball down. You are an alien athlete. You can dunk on anybody, and when you don't, they are going to foul you. Why you are bringing the ball down so much, I have no clue. Stop bringing the ball down. It was the same thing with JD. The Celtics, this should have been a prime. JD should have had 30 and 20 in this game. Celtics don't have a big man. They played small ball the entire game, basically. They have Luka Garza, who played 11 minutes, and Amari Williams, who played 15 minutes, but they really didn't do anything. The Celtics don't have any bigs, and they're guarding Duren with small guys. And Duren wasn't able to make them pay because, one, they were showing bodies on his drives and playing in the gap, and he wasn't able to make the right read playmaking-wise off of it. And two, when he did get to the paint, the Celtics were showing and reaching down, and he also kept bringing the ball down. He kept getting the ball knocked away. Now, there was a few possessions as well where Jalen Duren just lost control of the ball. It felt like he had lotion on his hands or something. Like he was very clumsy with the ball in this game, which is a one-game thing. He's usually great with his hands, so like it's not a big deal to me with that part because I don't expect that to be it's just an off game in that way. But the bringing down of the ball, when you are guarded by smaller guys and they're playing small, they're going to swarm. They're going to be active. They're going to be reaching. And he kept bringing the ball down, and he kept getting it turned. He kept getting it knocked away. JD and Ausar bringing the ball down was so incredibly frustrating, especially in this game, because there were so many times they both got to the paint. There were so many times they had 2 feet in the paint, and yet they weren't able to score and make the Celtics pay because they kept bringing the ball down. Jalen Duren was 4 of 10 in this game. Ausar is 2 of 8. They combined to be 6 of 18. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. Stop bringing the ball down. I mean, that was incredibly frustrating. So that's something that needs to be cleaned up. Keep the ball high and punish these teams in the paint. Now, they've done that for the majority of the season. So I don't think that's going to be... Now, I think Jalen Duren was covered differently in this game than he has been in any other game. I feel like that threw him off. And again, we talked about the playmaking reads. I think that played a part in it a lot. But, Ausar, stop bringing the ball down. You have to go up. You have to go up quick. Just jump. Like, no one can jump with you. I don't get it. These guys, Jalen Duren and Ausar, really let the team down in that regard today. That's number 1. Number 2. The Pistons are not a good enough offensive team. They don't have enough offensive talent for them to have as many miscues as they do, or as they did, I should say, did in this game on the defensive end of the floor. They just don't. In a game, now they've had a good half-court offense over this win streak. But it's not like you're looking up and down this roster and coming away saying they have a secondary scorer. And when guys aren't hitting shots and aren't able to make it happen around Cade, it turns into just Cade ball. And when you play like that, you can still win, but you have to rely on your identity of being a great defensive team. And tonight, they didn't do that. They were all over the place. Jalen Duren, I believe, had his worst defensive game of the season in this game. I think Duncan Robinson had his worst defensive game of the season in this game. I think Ivey was very poor on the defensive end of the floor, but it's just his 3rd game, so we'll give him a pass. It was a very uncharacteristic defensive game from them, and it absolutely killed them. Absolutely killed them. And the next thing I would say that I really need to see this team clean up. You really need, how do I want to say this? You really need someone outside of Cade to be aggressive when, like, take advantage of his advantages, and especially in games like this. Now, again, I've said this now 5 times. I want to make sure I'm very clear. They've been doing a good job of this throughout the streak. So it's just one game. But in this game, there were numerous times where Ausar, where Ivey, Stu, but I don't expect Stu to do this. This is why I haven't been the biggest fan of the double big lineups. But Stu did it. But again, you don't really expect him to. Stu did it, and Ron did it. All 4 of those guys, Cade draws 2, or he draws help in the gap. He kicks it out to them. And instead of them, like we talked about, like maybe 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, when Ausar was like running through the catch, where I talked about running through the ball. So you're immediately attacking the catch, attacking into the gap when they help off. They didn't do that in this game. They were catching and standing, catching and then dribbling, catching and then jabbing and dribbling. That's not what you need to be doing here. When teams are setting 2 at Cade, you have to be attacking that gap. When he gets at you, you have to attack downhill. And they just weren't doing that in this game consistently enough. So it was allowing the Celtics. Now, Cade ended up going for 42 anyways. So, like, whatever. But the Pistons were not able to make them pay for the possessions where they played Cade that aggressive and he kicked it out because his teammates were not playing aggressive enough into the gaps. Too often, Ivey took 5 threes. He was too often settling for threes, catch and shoot threes in this regard. Holland, there was a few times where Holland caught the ball and was a little undecisive and ended up losing the advantage that was created. Stu had one where he didn't really attack the closeout, but again, that's not really the type of player he is. And then Ausar had a few as well. Early in the game, on the left wing, he attacked through the ball and got to the free throw line. Loved seeing it. After that, he didn't do it. They were kicking out to Ausar, and Ausar was catching the ball and then driving for himself. But even if you're getting to the paint off of that, you're losing that advantage. That advantage is no longer what it was once you catch and now you start dribbling yourself. And I'm not talking about catching and then like on the run. I'm talking about catching standstill and then dribbling. The advantage isn't the same. So that has to be something. And again, it was drilled into them enough to where they were doing this mostly every game for 13 games. So it's just been an off game. You hate to see it, but that was something that didn't show up in this game. And you want to make sure it's not something that lingers on into other games, because that can be something that will hurt them, that will stop them from winning as many games as we want them to be. Hope is that it's just one game. It probably is just one game. Tough. It's tough to be locked in every single game. That's what makes it so crazy that they won 13 straight. But let's just hope that these things that we've brought up don't continue to happen, because that could really kill them. I don't think it will. They've been really good with this majority of this season. But that's why I use the word uncharacteristic. Uncharacteristic with their defense, uncharacteristic with how they were playing offensively. It seemed like they were less confident in themselves. Seems like they were kind of shocked at the way the Celtics were playing them defensively, which I don't really understand why. It's very uncharacteristic, but hopefully it's just a one-game blip. Would have loved to have the streak, but it is what it is. Let me know, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Khahil. What did you see in this game that you need to see the Pistons clean up? Do you think you just throw this one away? It is what it is. It's one game. Or do you think there were some things that need to be cleaned up? Let me know, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Khahil. Coming up, listen, man, I'm about to go on a rant. People may not like it, but I'm going to go on a rant. This isn't middle school, man. This is the NBA. It's not middle school. It's time we start treating it like it. The NBA season is heating up, and DoorDash has found the perfect way to keep fans in their bag all season long. Whether you're watching for the highlights, your fantasy team, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes every game night even more exciting. DoorDash is the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA, and they're celebrating with something called the bag drop. Every time an NBA player scores 50 points in the game, DoorDash drops 50% of your order with Dash Pass the next day, and you're automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag. DoorDash has you covered for late-night highlights, last-minute watch parties, and double OT fuel-ups. So next time someone goes off for 50, use promo code NBA50 the next day to get 50% off on DoorDash with Dash Pass, plus your shot at the bag drop. Dash Pass members only, 50% off to up to $10 a day after a 50-point game with promo code. Terms apply. No purchase necessary. Ends April 13th. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Visit DoorDash in your bag for full details. DoorDashInYourBag.com, for full details. DoorDash in your bag all season long. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. This is what my rant's going to be about. This is what my rant's about to be about. Actually, before I go into the rant, let me make it clear. Cade could have saved it with making his free throws at the end. He didn't. You rely on your superstar to make free throws. I don't want to sound like, the reason why I'm saying this, I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses for anybody. Ausar did not play good. I thought he was great defensively, but this was one of his worst offensive games of the season. He's not good at the rim. Bringing the ball down, it was a worst offensive game of the year. Hopefully it's just a blip. He's been good otherwise, but this is his worst offensive game of the year. Don't want to make it sound like I'm giving people excuses or ways out. So Ausar did not play well at all offensively. Cade, you're a star, you're a superstar. You have to close the game out at the end. We're talking about you being clutch player of the year, and you miss a free throw at the end. That's not clutch player of the year. That's not superstar stuff. You got to be able to make that free throw. I'm not trying to give anybody a pass at all. I want to just make that clear. With that said now, we have to stop with the 11-man lineup. We have to stop. We just got to stop with it. We have to stop. This is not middle school. This is not middle school when everybody gets to play. We are not in high school, freshman team, where the parents are in the stands. You want to make sure everyone gets to see everybody and everyone gets to touch the floor and everyone's. This is the NBA. You play your best players. We gotta stop. We gotta stop with this. In the second, I want to read this tweet from Amari Sankofa, Detroit Pistons beat writer. He tweeted this in the second quarter. JB's gone 11 deep so far. Question is if he can continue playing so many guys when the team isn't stringing together the 48 minutes like it was prior. They shot 8 of 21 the second quarter and gave up way too many open shots. This continued. This is what the bench lineup looked like because they were staggering so many guys. Dennis, -5. Jaden Ivey, -5. Ron Holland, -11. Karis LeVert, -5. Devontae Green, -1. Here's what the starters look like. Ausar, +1. Tobias, +0, or even. Jalen Duren, +6. Duncan, +9. Cade, even at 0. Now, I'm not chalking the game up just to plus-minus. That's not what I'm doing here. If you watch the game, you could tell that everyone they were subbing in, everyone outside of Cade, it felt like in this game, no one was catching a rhythm. No one felt like they were getting into their game because they were playing short stretches, coming in, coming out, coming in, coming out. Guys that are being forced to play. Look, I'm going to say it. If there is a player that if you were telling me I have to force a 10-man rotation to get someone minutes, it should be Dennis. Because Dennis he played actually really well. And he brings things that maybe you need. So I understand if you want to go 10 deep to play Dennis, then I get it. But Javonte, this team is deep with players that if you have an injury and these guys have to play, you feel okay. They can supplant for the minute. They can take it easy. They can take advantage of it for a minute. We shouldn't fall off a cliff. Should be fine. These guys are not so good to where they have to play. I think that's the misconception here between me and people who are in favor of this deep rotation. It's not like OKC. People keep comparing it to OKC. OKC has legit 12 playoff caliber NBA players on their team. It's not they have 9 guys and 3 guys who played well in the spurt that you want to reward, but aren't actually like playoff rotation caliber guys, but they played well, so you want to reward them. It's not that. They have legit 12 guys that would be top 8 guys on almost every other team in the NBA. That's why they can do it. As much as everyone loves Javonte Green, he is not so good that he needs to be playing. He is not so good to where you need to be getting people out of rhythm, out of flows, taking people's minutes away, not playing your best players enough minutes. Like Ausar only played 25 in this game. Tobias only played 27. Like no. I know. Javonte was great in the time that he was needed. He is not one of these players who are so good that if you don't play him, you're like, man, I can't believe we didn't play Javonte. Can't believe it. That's not how it is. And Dennis, this was the question we were bringing up with Dennis, is that he only played 7 minutes in this game. It was all in the first half. He didn't even get to play in the second half, which, again, if you're going to play somebody, play Dennis. Javonte played in the second half. Dennis didn't. I don't get that. Dennis is better than Javonte. Dennis was really good. If you're going to play someone in the second, play Dennis. I don't really understand why Dennis is the one that's chosen to come out. But we talked about this during Dance's hot streak when I brought up, okay, how are you going to fit everybody in the rotation? And I had so many people saying, oh, you just play 12 deep, 5 minutes for everybody. Kept saying, that's not possible. You're not going to be able to do that. It's not how it works. Oh, yes, you can. Just play everybody. 2 games we've seen, Dennis Jenkins just hasn't been able to play in the second half because it's not possible. You can't play 12 guys. You may be able to get them 2-3 minutes in the first half, sure, and ruin everyone's rhythm by trying to reward guys, and then just not play them in the second half. Sure, you can do that, but it's not really part of a rotation. That playing 7 minutes in one half in the first half and then just not playing the rest of the game, that's not really being a part of the rotation. That's just the random minutes you are throwing away just to say you played somebody. And I feel like what people miss with this is that there is more harm done to those that are playing that don't get to catch a rhythm, don't get to have chemistry, are in and out. There's more harm being done to that. You're not gaining enough by playing guys 7 minutes. I could understand this if maybe these 2 guys at the end of the bench were so good that you weren't playing Cade 36. You played Cade 29 instead. And you weren't playing Jalen Duren 30. You played 28. And then these guys, instead of just playing sprinkled minutes in the first half just to say you played them, they actually played 14 minutes. To where everyone that came off your bench played 14 minutes plus. That, okay, then you're playing both halves. You're making sure everyone's minutes are down, and they actually are playing so well to where you can play everyone 14 plus minutes. If they were that good, then okay, then do it. But this little sprinkling minutes in the first half just to not play them the rest of the game, just so you can say you played them, and now everyone in the first half, you have a bad quarter against a team you should have won or should have beat because everyone's out of rhythm, especially the bench guys. The bench guys were really out of rhythm. No one's getting accustomed to playing with each other. In and out of lineup. It's not helping nobody. I mean, it's not helping Dennis or Javonte. They haven't played good in either of the games that they've given 6 minutes. What are they going to do in 6 minutes? How are they going to impact the game in 6 minutes? Dennis came into the game and stood in the corner for 7 minutes. Like, how is that helpful? Who is he? He's not helping himself. He's not playing well. He's not helping the team doing that. Javonte comes into the game. Who is he helping in 9 minutes to go 0 of 2? What's he going to do in 9 minutes? Like, I just don't, what's the value here? Guys don't have to play a lot of minutes. Cade played 36 still. Cade's still playing high minutes. This idea that they're hoping guys stay fresh. Cade's still playing high minutes. Who are you saving? The 22-year-old Ausar? The 22-year-old Jalen Duren? These guys need to be saved in November? Again, it would make more sense that these end-of-bench guys were so good they were at least getting 14 minutes, and you were keeping Cade's minutes down. And no one was playing 30 minutes. Or, again, it would make more sense if these guys were so good that you were like, okay, see, well, you just don't have to play your starters in the fourth quarter. And then that's where they get the most of their minutes. That's not the case. That's not the case. The Pistons, in the second quarter of this game, got outscored 33-28. That quarter is where they lost. They tied the fourth quarter, then won the first quarter. Now, again, it wasn't, I'm not putting all the blame. Again, we talked about all the other things that contributed. There was a bunch of things that contributed to it, to losing this game. But I can't. I'm done with the. It took 2 games. I can't do it. You're not even playing them actual minutes. It's not even an actual rotation that you're playing with them. You're just playing them random minutes in the first half to say you played them. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make sense at all to me. Your best player is still playing 36 minutes. It's not like he's not playing. It's not like you're saving him. It's not like you're keeping him fresh. It doesn't make any sense. The rest of the guys need to get their minutes. The rest of the guys need to be able to get into a rhythm. The rest of the guys need to get accustomed to playing with each other, especially with so many guys coming back from injury, needing to get to be able to play with each other. It's not middle school. These guys played good in their absence. Oh, also, I completely forgot about this part. Last thing we'll wrap up with, I spoke about this when Dennis was going well. We brought it up when everyone was saying, oh, you just play 12 guys. I forgot. That's where I was going earlier. I got sidetracked. Dennis is playing a position that is very deep. The Pistons are playing Cade, Karras, and Ivey on ball. They're giving Jalen Duren on-ball reps. Ausar is getting on-ball reps. Duncan's basically soaking up a lot of the two-guard minutes. So you've got 5 guys that are playing the 2-guard minutes, or 5 guys that are sharing the 1 and 2-guard minutes. And now you're trying to, as good as Dennis was playing, I was saying that he deserved to play rotations minutes. I was saying, I don't know how are you going to do it? Because there's no ball handling reps available once these guys get back. And there's no real minutes available once they all get back because of how much Duncan's playing the 2, so you can play Ausar at the 3 and play Ron Holland at the 3 and 4. Like, he's not getting many minutes at the 3. He's playing all of his minutes at the 2. So they did their job, they did their job when they needed to. But sadly, this is the NBA, and decisions have to be made for the betterment of the team. And playing guys 8 minutes to say you played them just isn't the move. It isn't the move. That end of my rant. Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Khahil how you guys feel about this. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. And stay safe out there. Happy Thanksgiving. Peace out, everybody.